But we'll listen to a couple of songs if you want, and that's okay with me. I like it. So we'll do that. We'll do those songs that we had mentioned, Justin. And if Justin doesn't get it right, he gets fired. Full factory.
I am not exaggerating when I say Donald Trump's town hall tonight was the worst town hall in the history of town halls. He started it off by ranting. He moved into his grievance, and then he spent the last 30 minutes as his supporters sat confused, dancing on stage. Everyone had no clue what was going on, because Donald Trump has no clue at all anymore. His cognitive decline couldn't be more clear. So much so that the mainstream media is finally doing their job in starting to cover it, but it's not on their own volition. VP Harris and her campaign have played a huge role in finally getting them to focus on Donald Trump's cognitive deterioration. And when I said this was the worst town hall ever, I expected it couldn't get worse. But VP Harris made sure it did, because she took the opportunity after witnessing Donald Trump's complete collapse on stage to troll him at her rally. It was incredible. She played her collapse on the screen for all to see, and some of the best trolling I have ever seen, and I cannot wait to get into all of it. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you want to join the community that we're building on this channel, to hit that subscribe button. It goes a long way and really means the world to me now. In case you have not seen any of the clips from Donald Trump's town hall, I feel like we first need to check out some of his craziest moments for a bit of context. So let's take a look.
Like my fellow Americans, my grocery bill has not gone down. Everything is still so very expensive. What steps will your administration take to help American families suffering from this inflation?
So, it's such a great question in the sense that people don't think of grocery. It sounds like not such an important word when you talk about homes and everything else, right? But more people tell me about grocery bills, where the price of bacon, the price of lettuce, the price of tomatoes, they tell me. And we're going to do a lot of things. Our farmers aren't being treated properly. And we had a deal with China, and it was a great deal. I never mentioned it because once COVID came in, I said that was a bridge too far, because I had a great relationship with President Xi. And he's a fierce man, and he's a man that likes China, and I understand that. But we had a deal, and he was perfect on that deal. $50 billion he was going to buy. We were doing numbers like you wouldn't believe for the farmer. But the farmers are very badly hurt. The farmers in this country, we're going to get them straightened out. We're going to get your prices down. But you asked another question about safety and also about black population jobs and Hispanic population, in particular those two. So when millions of people pour into our country, they're having a devastating effect on black families and Hispanic families more than any others. I think it's going to spread to a lot of other places. I think it's going to spread to unions. I think unions are going to have a big problem because employers are just not going to pay the price. They're going to, and it's a very bad thing that's happening. So they're coming in, many are coming in from jails and prisons and mental institutions, insane asylums. That's like, a step above, right? A insane asylum. And whenever I go, Hannibal Lecter, you know what I'm talking about. They always go the fake news. That's a lot of fake news back there, too.
He was asked about grocery prices and somehow found his way to Hannibal Lecter. And it wasn't just that it was windmills. It was other nonsense Trump was spouting as his crowd sat there confused. And they were even more confused when instead of answering more questions, Donald Trump decided to cut the town hall early so he could dance on stage for 30 minutes. Yes, they just let song after song play. His crowd was stunned and really just concerned for his cognitive decline. But what was even more concerning was the question Christine Owam asked Donald Trump, and his answer before that all happened. So let's take a look.
But we'll listen to a couple of songs if you want, and that's okay with me. I like it. So we'll do that. We'll do those songs that we had mentioned, Justin, and if Justin doesn't get it right, he gets fired. Full factory. Anyway, go ahead, please.
Yep. Well, sir, do you want to play your song and then greet a few people, or do you want to? Well, you had said you wanted to close with a specific song.
So it was clear Donald Trump wanted to play some music at the end of his rally, but when he was asked about it, he couldn't even remember the conversation. He is clearly out of it. His cognitive decline couldn't be more apparent to anyone who sits down and watches him for even a few seconds. Even the crowd is disturbed by Donald Trump, and Harris decided that she would use these crazy moments of Donald Trump and play them at her rally, not only trolling Donald Trump, but absolutely crushing him in the rest of an incredible speech that I want to take a look at right here.
He is someone who will stop at nothing to claim power for himself. And you don't have to take my word for it. I've said for a while now, watch his rallies. Listen to his words. He tells us who he is. And he tells us what he would do if he is elected president. So here tonight, I will show you one example of Donald Trump's worldview and intentions. Please roll the clip.
The worst people are the enemies from within.
The enemy from within. Those people are more dangerous, the enemy from within, than Russia and China.
These people should be put in jail the way they talk about our judges and our justices. Now, if you had one really violent day, one rough hour, and I mean real rough.
I think the bigger problem are the people from within. We have some very bad people. We have some sick people, radical left lunatics. And I think they're and it should be very easily handled by, if necessary, by National Guard, or if really necessary, by the military.
So you heard his words. You heard his words coming from him. He's talking about the enemy within Pennsylvania. He's talking about the enemy within our country, Pennsylvania. He's talking about that he considers anyone who doesn't support him or who will not bend to his will an enemy of our country. It's a serious issue. He is saying that he would use the military to go after them. Think about this. And we know who he would target. And we know who he would target because he has attacked them before. Journalists whose stories he doesn't like. Election officials who refuse to cheat by filling extra votes and finding extra votes for him. Judges who insist on following the law instead of bending to his will. This is among the reasons I believe so strongly that a second Trump term would be a huge risk for America and dangerous. Donald Trump is increasingly unstable and unhinged.
He is in decline. He is deranged, and he is dangerous. So much so now, more than ever. It's why so many Republicans who are close to Donald Trump in his administration have come out and said this guy was unfit. Then imagine what he's like now. We should all be terrified. We all have to continue to push back against this because he's really unable to put a sentence together at this point. And the ones that he can are fear-mongering against immigrants and sowing down about the election and talk about an economic agenda that he has. It's nothing but lies and nonsense. And so while he's blabbering, VP Harris is talking about the future, like we can see right here.
Under my economic plan, and by the way, so dude wants to talk about his plans, which really are about cutting taxes for the richest people. Please do check out the Wall Street Journal or Goldman Sachs or the 16 Nobel laureates or Moody's, who have all analyzed the plans and said mine will strengthen the economy, his will make it weaker.
And of course, this present form of Donald Trump is bad. But let's remember the past as well, the failures of his first term, which were so perfectly summed up by Governor Tim Walz in this clip right here.
Because we know when workers win, America wins. It's that simple. And guess what? The middle class grows and businesses flourish. Now look, Donald Trump and J.D. Vance, they see things differently. Trump talks a big game, but he was a disaster for working people. He was one of the biggest losers of manufacturing jobs in American history, and that's a fact. So to your neighbors, your friends, hell, our family members, if they say, I don't really like Trump, but I like his policies, which policies were those? When he destroyed American manufacturing? When he shipped jobs to China? Hell, he doesn't even manufacture his Bibles here. He outsources that to China. So just so we know, under his leadership, 83,000 jobs disappeared in Wisconsin.
Historic job loss under Donald Trump. Historic losses in the stock market under Donald Trump. Historic manufacturing loss under Donald Trump. Do we want to return to that? When people say that they like Donald Trump's economic agenda, his economic policies, what are they talking about? His complete failures, his destruction of the economy, him riding on the coattails of President Obama for 3 years until COVID hit. And he screwed it all up by mismanaging the pandemic. Is that what they're talking about? We got to make sure we're combating this misinformation and the conspiracies and lies that the Trump campaign is pushing. And we're going to be doing it on this show every single day. And if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, you can leave a like on this video, and if you're stuck around to the end, you can drop a blue heart in the comments, and until next time, I'll see you soon.